Come on, Annie. Let's go to the movies.
This is the Cinereelists, episode 684. My name is Kyle.
And my name is James.
And we're here to talk movies, movie lists, and movie session for the next hour or so. Welcome to the show, James.
Welcome to the show, Kyle.
Thank you. I was going through my watch list the other day, and just I clean it up every so often. You know, if this movie's been there for a long time, I don't know why it's on there. I'll be like, I'm gonna take this off my watch list. And I got to the movie Slacker, the Richard Linklater film, and I was like, well, I've seen this movie. Why is it on my watch list? I must have forgot to log it. But I'd like to know when I saw a movie. So I was like, well, let me go check iCheck Movies and see if I checked it on there. Didn't check it on iCheck Movies. Like, okay. Well, maybe on IMDb I rated it. Let me find out the rate date there. Nothing on IMDb.
All your systems broke down.
Right. Well, and then I was like, well, you know what? I definitely watched this on HBO Max. Maybe I can go to HBO Max to find out a watch history. So I'm Googling can you get a watch history on HBO Max? And not a date by date kind of thing. So not really. I was like, oh, okay. And then I saw on HBO Max that it was in continue watching. And it was only a third of the way through. And I was like, what, did I go back and watch part of this movie? This is strange. So I just went to it and I started watching a little bit of where it left off. And I was like, I don't remember this at all. And then I fast forward a little bit. So I'm like, I don't remember this either. And then I went back to the beginning. I'm like, well, this part I remember. And
Sure.
I think I watched half an hour of Slacker, stopped for whatever reason, and just in my brain had clocked, well, I've seen the movie Slacker now.
Sure.
So I need to go back and finish the rest of it. But I was convinced that I had seen this movie and my system had broken. But no, it's just my brain had broken.
Nice. I watched the end of 2 movies last night because I was doing a little cleanup myself, movies that I had started, but for some reason had 30 minutes left on the backside. Yeah. So I watched Patriots Day. Oh
yeah, Mark Wahlberg. Yep.
Yeah, I had stopped right before the guy is found in the boat. And then I finished off Tombstone, which is another one that I hadn't finished. Even that, both of those are rewatches.
Oh, okay, but was that your first time for Tombstone? That's a rewatch. Okay.
No, they've just been sitting in my living room because I'm like, I can't not finish them.
Right, exactly. Yes.
So anyway, it sounds like you got a date with Slacker.
I do. another 50 minutes to go in that movie. But then I can say I've officially seen Slacker. So
sure. You might say you've been slacking on finishing Slacker.
I would, yes, except I was not aware I was slacking on it because I thought I had seen it.
Sure.
If you had asked me 2 days ago, have you seen Slacker? But yeah, I've seen Slacker.
Sure. Well,
no, I haven't. I've seen parts of it.
From what I remember of Slacker, it's not like anything momentous is going to happen. Spoiler alert! In the last 30 minutes, it's a vibe movie where you move.
Vignette. It's like vignettes.
Yeah.
You're right.
You just kind of move from one spot to another, and characters talk, but there's no real high plot points or anything like that.
No, it's indie slice of life.
Right. Exactly. That's also, speaking of Slacker, that's the movie that inspired Kevin Smith to make Clerks.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He famously says, I walked out of Slacker and realized, oh, this counts now? Well, then I can make a movie.
I could just put some people in a convenience store and have them talk for an hour and a half. No problem.
Right. Exactly. So
right, because Clerks has the thinnest of plots. Also, Clerks is more just a setup.
Yeah, and it's no money. It's kind of actors with either no experience or little experience, just kind of talking through most of it. No action, no expensive set pieces. So
it does have multiple locations.
Slacker does.
No.
Clerks.
Clerks. Yeah.
Clerks has multiple locations, kind of.
They have inside the convenience store.
Right.
They have on top of the convenience store.
Outside the front door of the convenience store.
They have the movie rental place.
The video store. Yeah, that's it.
And then aren't they in a car also? Don't they go to a funeral?
I don't remember. They would go to a funeral in Clerks?
Or is this a short I'm thinking of?
I don't know what you're thinking of. I don't remember them doing that, but it has been probably 10 plus years since I've seen Clerks. So
okay, I'm thinking of a scene of Dante and Randall in a car. and they're going somewhere, and they're having just one of their Dante and Randall conversations.
Mm-hmm.
But it might be in color, and they might be in like a short or like a special feature or something like that. You know,
I don't know.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, wait. Clerks in a Car likely refers to a scene or sequence from the film Clerks where the main characters, Dante and Randall, travel in a car.
Yeah.
While the movie's plot doesn't revolve around them driving specifically, there are moments where they use a car for transportation or involved in a car-related situation.
Okay, so there is a scene in Clerks where they're in a car. I thought so.
I guess. I don't remember that at all, but if you say so and the internet says so, I believe you.
I thought they're going to a funeral or something.
Oh.
And there's going to be an attractive woman at this funeral, and like they're like game planning how they're going to hit on this woman at the funeral or something like that.
There is a Kevin Smith directed short called The Flying Car, which has Dante and Randall sitting in it.
Ah, okay.
That was filmed and released for the Clerks 10th anniversary DVD.
There we go.
So
maybe
it
that's
might not be a part of the movie.
I haven't seen Clerks considering it's like a top 100 movie for me. I've not seen Clerks in a long time.
Sure. Definitely.
Okay. Anyway, I'm glad we brought up Clerks because that does lead into spinoffs.
Does it? Well, I guess it does. Well, we'll get there.
We'll get there. I'm trying to segue us back into the show.
Sure. I appreciate that. Welcome to episode 684 of the Cinereelists podcast. We're excited that you guys are here with us. Zach is in New York City. Is that right? Or something like that? I don't know where he is.
I thought he was in like New York State, but then he said he was at the Tony Awards. Like right. I thought he was in like upstate or something. So maybe he's in both. Not simultaneously, but
sure.
He's in the New York area. Definitely he's been in New York City because he was at the Tony Awards.
Right.
Or I should say he was outside of the Tony Awards.
Sure.
And I thought there was maybe camping involved, but I don't think he's camping in the city.
So I've been outside the Oscars while it was going on.
Okay.
So Zach's been outside the Tonys. What are you going to be outside of at some point?
I have been outside of the Mamas, which is the Madison Area Music Awards.
All right, there we go. Very prestigious.
Yes, I know. It's very big in this area.
Perfect.
Butch Vig was there.
Well, that's kind of awesome.
Because he's from Madison.
Sure.
So he's like our one big pull.
Butch Vig, from what I've heard, like him speaking on podcasts and stuff like that, seems like the nicest mean guy there could be. You know what I mean? Like he's not mean enough to get like a reputation, or like he's not like extremely mean, but he does not seem like a cuddly person at all.
Is he like Midwest passive aggressive?
No, more like I'm a producer and I have to wrangle rock stars. And so I'm just extremely blunt. And if they don't like it, then I won't produce them.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I'm more famous than most of the people that I produce. So you know what I mean? Like I can throw my weight around. But anyway, welcome to the podcast. We're going to talk the latest in the John Wick universe. This is from the world of John Wick, Ballerina. We're also going to run down our top 10 movie spinoffs, which should be fun. And before we do all that, we need to remind you there's a video version of this podcast on YouTube. Go check it out there. Search Cinereelists, REEL with an S on the end. Find us there, subscribe, watch while you listen. You can also support us on Patreon, patreon.com/Cinereelists. If you support the podcast there, you'll get extra after show audio, including last week's after show where I impromptu style challenged Kyle to list off the top of his head his top 100 movies. And we're not going to spoil how well he did, but let's just say I was impressed.
Thank you.
Yeah. So your first month would get you that episode as well as every other after show episode we've ever done. And I don't know how many we're up to, but it's over 100 easily, maybe even 200. I have no clue.
It's years of after shows.
Yep. Years of after shows. Some of which you'd want to listen to because they're evergreen, and some of them, I don't know if there's any value there, but they're there waiting for your support. Also, A good way to support us that's completely free is leave us an Apple Podcast review, 5 stars only. We'd appreciate that. Or send us an email, heyguys@cinereelists.com. That email address, as well as links to do any and all of these things, are in the description of this episode. Kyle, you ready to talk from the world of John Wick, Ballerina?
Yeah, I really don't like that title, but let's do it.
I don't either. We'll talk about it right after this clip.
You just made everything a whole lot worse. Those people that you're looking for are surrounding this hotel right now, hoping somebody breaks the rules and takes the bait. I think they were hoping that somebody was gonna be you. Now you've just made them antsy.
Why would they be at the hotel?
They just want me dead to get to her.
That was Ballerina, or marketed as, according to Wikipedia, From the World of John Wick, Ballerina. So maybe the official name is just Ballerina.
I've seen both. Like, I'm looking at Letterboxd right now, and it's Ballerina. I think if you go to IMDb, it's From the World of John Wick, Ballerina.
Sure. I am not IMDb, so
I think Ballerina is totally fine.
Yeah.
From the World of John Wick sounds like we got scared.
Absolutely. We could not figure out how to market this on its own, so we're adding that. This movie was directed by Len Wiseman and stars.
Was it? Have you heard the backstory on all this?
No, but let's get to it.
Okay, we'll get to it. Okay.
This movie stars Anna de Armas, Angelica Houston, Gabriel Byrne, Lance Reddick, Norman Reedus, Ian McShane, and an appearance by somebody else. That's probably
Who could it be?
That's probably in the trailer.
Yeah.
The official IMDb plot synopsis for From the World of John Wick, Ballerina is an assassin trained in the traditions of the Ruska Roma organization sets out to seek revenge after her father's death. Kyle, what'd you think of From the World of John Wick, Ballerina? What's this big controversy with director Len Wiseman before we get into it?
Sure. So Len Wiseman finished the film a year ago.
It felt like they were supposed to release this last year.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah. Okay.
And it tested very poorly.
Really? Okay.
So this is where everyone's kind of speaking out the corner of their mouth at this point, but Chad Stileski essentially came in for reshoots. Now, the question is, was Len Wiseman there for reshoots? Was Chad Stileski the director? Was he just a producer? Who did editing? That's all kind of up in the air. No one's really saying or confirming or denying what happened.
Mm-hmm.
But it sounds like Chad Stileski kind of looked at this movie, said, this is not good. And then he punched it up. Literally.
Gotcha. Chad Stileski being a producer
for this, and he is one of the directors of the original John Wick.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Right. It was Stileski and David Leitch.
And
the original directors.
He directed all of the John Wicks. Maybe did they co-direct all 4 of the John Wicks, or did he do the last 3 on his own?
I want to say David Licht moved on to like Atomic Blonde, and he was doing his own thing. So they did the first one together, and then I think Stileski kind of took the reins of the franchise. Licht moved on. Bullet Train. I think David Licht also directed.
Okay. So if somebody was going to take it over, at least it wasn't Joss Whedon or.
Right. It's like the guy who started this whole thing. He's like, this is my baby.
Right. And that would not necessarily that at one point the movie was a mess, but the idea that like going back to a film and making improvements on it, not to spoil this discussion, but I think it worked. I mean, I didn't detect that this thing had been rewritten to death or anything.
Right.
Um,
I would say I thought the first half hour or the first third, the first act, we could say,
mhm.
was a little up and down for me
Okay.
because you get this flashback first,
Mhm.
and then you get kind of drawn into present day. And Ana de Armas, she's at the ballet school that we see in John Wick 3.
Mhm.
And we kind of get the idea that this movie's taking place concurrently with John Wick 3,
Sure.
based on conversations. Angelica Houston's back in this movie from her character from the Ruska Romas, whatever it is.
Mhm.
And it's sort of like, I don't know, I guess the first third is like a training montage, and you're seeing the training she's going through and how she's becoming, I think, an assassin, but then also looks like she's just a bodyguard because
Mhm.
she's put on assignments and it's to protect. She's not killing people per se. So at first I was like, well, what is this movie? Like,
Mhm.
because on the one hand, it's going to be this revenge story, obviously, because of the events that happened when she was a child. But then we're also getting this whole background of like the ballerinas and what their role are, and
Mhm.
their protection schemes. And I was like, okay. And then the movie kind of decides to go into the actual plot.
Mhm.
And at that point, I was in. And I think for me, there was a scene where essentially we see the aftermath of a John Wick style fight,
Mhm.
which I thought was really clever. And that's kind of where the movie finally started going.
Okay. Yeah, I
For
mean,
me personally.
there's a lot of short of the kind of opening action sequence. Um, there's a lot of backstory that they have to kind of get through. I think that's
Yeah.
part of what John Wick, the original John Wick, did really well. Was there wasn't a whole lot of backstory to the John Wick character. There was
Yeah.
enough motivation in the dog and the car to get things kicked off, and so it just kind of, as fast as it could, got into the action and then didn't slow down. It gave us enough motivation to care, basically.
Right.
And then they threw in like the whole wife stuff. And yeah, there was like a lot of
wife syndrome.
a lot of surface level, but very relatable motivation for the
Right.
character.
Yes.
And so I think with this, it was a little harder to breeze by that, and so instead we got a kind of a proper origin story for Ana de Armas's character, the titular ballerina in this case.
Right.
And so I also felt like it dragged a little bit at the beginning, and while you call that not showing the fight clever, as she was walking through and I saw all those guys on the ground and she's like leaving the wherever they were, club or something, I don't even remember what it was.
It's usually a club, yeah.
Yeah, I was just kind of like, what happened here? I want to see what, you know what I mean? Is this
Yeah.
what this movie's going to be? That they're not actually going to show us like the John Wick action sequences? Fortunately, they hold out on it, but they do get there for sure with the action.
They get there, yes.
Yeah. Now, they don't get there to what we've been conditioned, to the level that we've been conditioned by other John Wick movies, though. Like the John Wick movies nowadays are like, the last couple have been like 2.5 hours of just almost solid mayhem.
Just wall to wall action, yes.
Right. So in watching this one, it wasn't necessarily jarring. It just reminds you that like, this is how most action movies are. Little action sequence at the beginning, good 30 to 40 minutes of setup, and then action towards the back half.
Yeah, right.
There's no 25-minute action scene in the middle of the setup. You know what I mean? Which is what the John Wick movies have done and done very well with. So I was, I think they strayed from the formula a little bit there, but the vibe I thought felt very well, fit very well with the universe, and they integrated other characters from the series into the spinoff in ways that didn't seem annoying, or it made sense to me.
Right. Yeah.
Everything they did. I was not necessarily concerned because I knew the action would be fun to watch no matter what. But I just don't. I went into it not caring about the ballerina character. It's just like this throwaway thing that's in the other movies. So it didn't make a whole lot of sense to me why they were making like a big movie about this. But go ahead.
Because it doesn't seem like there's a huge mystery behind it. So like in the third movie, like you're at a ballet school. Obviously, they're training ballerinas to be assassins.
Right.
So I don't need like the backstory. Like, well, yeah, it's ballet assassins. Okay, next. Like it's it's not the most original idea, and there's not a lot of depth to it. So we don't. That's why I didn't need so much. Like, I don't need training montages. Like, we don't need to see how John Wick got trained because we just know he's John Wick.
Right.
We know he went through a similar process. I feel like, okay, yeah, they're going to learn judo and jujitsu and how to shoot. And, there'll probably be some dark crap that happens. And now you're an assassin. And it's like, oh, delivered on all those fronts.
Sure. Yeah, I definitely agree. Yeah, so I think overall I enjoyed it. I don't think it's a perfect, action movie by any stretch, but I had fun watching it. What did you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've kind of already let my thoughts known on the setup to the movie. Once the action got started, though, I was enjoying it. I thought these action sequences were creative, and they seemed. This movie, although it's still the John Wick style, Ana de Armas's fight style or Ballerina's fight style, whatever, is much I don't know, scrappier or much more improvisational. So like I feel like a lot of her fight sequences, she was in a space and was like, what can I use in this space to fight with? And John Wick, we see that with him like in a book, in a bookstore or library or like with axes or whatever. But he seems to have a little bit more of a plan when he goes into his action scenes. And at least these ones are more like, what can I find? So I'm not. There was a big action scene that I've never seen before involving dueling double of something, which I don't want to give away because I was kind of blown away from it. But like another one that I thought was clever, which I will say, is I've never seen a character just use grenades before in like small quarters for a fight scene.
Sure.
And I thought that was quite like, oh, this is kind of fun and interesting. And I was afraid at first I was going to get more just like John Wick gung fu, because we got that a little bit in the beginning. I was like, okay, like I've seen this before. I like it, but what else? If you're going to be a new movie, what can you bring to it? And I think this movie did a good job, especially when it got to the final act and it's in a different location of like, hey, what can I find around me to make this action scene unique?
Yeah. That's how I felt too. It wasn't necessarily treading water; it was just treading, well-worn ground, basically, through the bulk of the first half. But then once that kind of third act gets going, I was into it. And I liked the idea too that like you're trained to be a protector, and then she's like, well, she has to go into the world of like assassins in order to do that job, basically. And the idea that there was like motivation, there was external motivation beyond revenge. Like going into that third act, she'd have no reason to be there if it wasn't for still wanting to protect somebody.
Oh, yes, I see what you're saying. Yep.
Whereas the John Wick movies are rarely about protecting something else. It's more like, I just have to move up the boss chain. You know what I mean? To get my revenge or to defend myself from somebody else getting their revenge type of thing. And that's fine. And that John Wick has done it for 4 movies. They figured out ways to make that interesting. But there was a slight spin on it in this one, in that there was still a protection element to kind of like your main person. Yeah, I mean, I honestly, I was surprised at how much I enjoyed watching this movie.
Good.
Because I wasn't necessarily bracing for it to be awful. I was bracing for it to be mid. You know what I mean? That I would walk out and like feel nothing about it type of thing. That they would, have a couple cool things and then I would just walk away from it. Not only that, but like Ana de Armas is fine. I've just never seen anything with her in it where I'm like blown away by her acting.
Do you remember her fight scene in No Time to Die, the Bond film?
Yeah. I'm not talking about the physicality of her in
Okay.
a fight scene. I'm just talking about her delivering lines.
Oh, just as an actress. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and I think part of it, I don't know. I mean, it's the same thing I feel about like what's her name from Dusk Till Dawn, Selma Hayek, or a lot of other Latin actresses.
Wait, I say Penelope Cruz. Or are we on a
Latin actresses? For some reason, I'm not saying they can't act. I'm saying that I have to make an effort to get over I don't know. It's just for some reason.
It sounds like the accent's an issue for you.
It can be an issue for me.
Okay.
It's not always, but with certain actresses, it's a hurdle. And I've felt like that with Ana de Armas.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't mean that I'll walk out of a movie and be like, they're awful at it. I'm not personally engaged. You know what I mean? Because it's a barrier. And so
when James is watching the movie and the Latina actress gets on screen, he goes, "Oh my god!"
No, that's not true. Because most, I'm sure there's lots of Latina actresses that like I don't even clock. You know what I mean? Like it never comes into my brain. But actresses with strong Latin accents. It might be the same with Asian accents too.
Let's get on this rabbit hole, James.
I'm just saying, like, how many movies have you seen with an Asian actress where they have an Asian accent? And they're speaking English.
In your favorite Mel Gibson movie, Payback, Lucy Liu is doing an accent.
Payback, the movie I don't even remember.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, you want to know how many? That's the first one comes to mind.
Yeah, I'm sure they're out there and we can find examples of it. But for some reason,
Full Metal Jacket, a very famous line delivery from an Asian woman.
Sure.
So famous that 2 Live Crew sampled it for their hits.
Literally part of the joke is that like she's over enunciating those things to try to get Americans to do things. Anyway, I'm not criticizing her.
I'm just keep giving you rope here,
telling you what the experience was on my side of the fence. So I was curious to see if there would be some real meaty stuff in here and whether I would be able to get into it. And during the first part of the movie, I would say I was getting over it. And then in the second part, maybe it's because there's more action, but I felt like I got used to it and was just kind of like, oh yeah, this, it was a non-issue for me towards the end. I don't know. If you're a listener and you can relate at all, please let me know. I don't want to be the only person.
Please write in and bail out James on this.
Again, I'm not criticizing. I'm just giving you my experience from my side.
If you too are prejudiced towards Latina accents, please write in at Hey Guys.
It is interesting though. Like I hadn't really thought that through until since we've been talking right now. I want to find a movie with an Asian actress in it where they have a strong Asian accent.
Payback. You need to rewatch Payback.
Sorry, a good movie.
It is a good movie. It's a neo-noir. It's got a saxophone soundtrack.
Sure. Anyway, so I also don't think I've seen a movie where Ana de Armas is the person. You know what I mean? She's the top of the poster star. This is the person we're going to watch for the majority of the movie. You know what I mean? Like she's great in Blade Runner 2049 and lots of things.
What about Knives Out? She's kind of the central character of Knives Out.
She's good in that as well. Yeah, I don't have a problem necessarily with Ana de Armas. I just never seen her in a starring role where she is the one.
Sure.
And I think she rose to the occasion in this case, and or maybe it's just another day in her world. But from my side of the fence, it felt like a rising to the occasion, and I was impressed. So
James's take is, as long as she doesn't open her mouth, he's happy to watch her on screen.
If you want another not so hot take, but maybe people might come after me for it. Okay. Also, I don't like when female-led action movies make you feel like the person that's clearly weaker from a muscle mass perspective, is just as strong as everybody else on the screen. Like he got them fighting like weightlifters, and yet, you know what I mean? There's clearly no power to them. I thought in this movie, they accounted for that very well. They made her very resourceful.
Yes, she's very resourceful in this
and
movie.
Strategic.
I like where you're going with this, James.
When she was going against people that were clearly outweighing her,
right?
They came up with creative ways to make it for her to equalize things. And like the scrappiness, almost more than like when you see John Wick fight in these types of movies, he seems like he has everything thought through like 5 steps ahead, right? And that's why that's why he can kill 2 guys with one bullet and then swing his arm around and grab the pencil and stab the guy in the face with it. You know what I mean? Like he had that move planned 10 seconds ago. Whereas in this one, I felt like she is in survival mode for a good deal of the back half. Even though she's on the attack, she's also in survival mode. And she's constantly just grabbing something and throwing it, or, you know what I mean? Just whatever she can get her hands on, she's utilizing it in creative ways. And that made for like a real fun, what felt like an underdog experience. And I think John Wick, when it's at its best, can get in that groove too. Like the first John Wick, there are moments in that movie where you're like, how is this guy ever going to survive this? And in other movies, there's flashes of that too, but I think the first one specifically does it real well.
Yeah, I mean, I like in this one, in that third act, she just kind of shows up at the location.
Yeah, and they're giving her every opportunity to just get out of there and save herself. And she's like, no.
Yeah, the people saying like, you can just walk away from this. And you know that she's like, I'm not going to, but she doesn't have a plan either. It's just, I'm here.
Right.
I'll figure it out.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was good.
I do want to, I want to have one spoiler.
Okay.
So maybe we can just tell people skip ahead a minute here.
Okay.
It's because we're talking about fighting and fighting styles. So from here on out, feel free to skip ahead like a minute. You mentioned before that there is an appearance of another John Wicking character.
Mm-hmm.
John Wick himself does appear in this.
Sure.
And he does get a short fight scene. And watching Keanu Reeves fight just reminds me of like how much of a master he is at this.
Mm-hmm.
Because Ana de Armas did a really nice job. I thought she did it, but she's doing more of the scrappy. Then you watch him on screen, you're like, oh, he moves so well, and it's so impressive.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the difference between somebody. I mean, I'm sure Keanu Reeves is just good at this at this point. He's done how many, martial
he's been doing this
arts
since
focused
1999,
movie?
right? Exactly. So for 25 years.
But also the characters themselves. You've got the guy who's trying to get out of this. He's trying to be done with this. You know what I mean? This lifestyle. And you've got her who's not necessarily trying to get into it, but she's very early in her, her journey. And so it was cool that it was reflected in their fight styles.
Agree completely. So it was fun to see that contrast.
Yeah.
End of spoilers.
I will say that, and maybe this was in the rewrite or the reshoot, but I do think that the last kind of set piece, the last location they get to, kind of saves the movie. You know what I mean? Like,
completely.
It wasn't bad before then, but it didn't feel like it was, hitting a high point, or, you know what I mean? Really, I don't know what the word is. It wasn't cresting,
right?
In a way that I would expect a movie like this to. And the change in scenery, the fact that it was very different than what we've seen in the John Wick franchise, that the bad guys had motivations that were clearly different. She had a motivation that was very different, and yet we still got like John Wick lore in there. I'm not even talking about him. I'm just talking about the universe.
Right. The medallion verse, we were going to call it.
Yeah, for sure.
Coin verse. I think it's called the coin verse.
Yeah. There was something that bothered me, but I can't really remember what it was.
Something that I think something that bothered me
Mhm.
was this movie seemed to play a little fast and loose with the John Wick verse in that first third. I think for me, the first third is just what bothered me the most.
Mhm.
Whereas the John Wick universe has gotten so big over 4 movies.
Mhm.
We're like the first movie, it's like, oh, what's this secret society with coins and cleaners? And then by the 4th movie, it's like, is everyone an assassin in this world? Like, is this an alternative universe where everyone's an assassin?
Mhm.
And without getting too much in, not spoilers per se, without getting too much into the weeds, there were some moments like there is a Continental moment, we'll put it that way, where
Mhm.
they go to the hotel. And there's some moments of the Continental which I felt like did not follow the rules of John Wick that we've come to learn from that.
Oh, really?
Yes.
What is there anything you can say specifically?
I'll just say that there's a fight scene in the Continental.
Oh, you mean
And
as far as like who's allowed to fight in the Continental? And
Right.
who's
It's
not?
pretty clear you're not allowed to fight the Continental. Now they kind of deal with it, but that also kind of felt like, man, they say, I mean, other movies, they're pretty strict on what happens when you find the Continental. If you've seen the end of John Wick 2, and this movie seemed to play a little bit more like, okay, well, I understand.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. I don't know why they eased up on that idea, but I agree. It's not. It's definitely not a uniform punishment. Evidently.
right, exactly.
Although we won't get into it because that's
We don't
spoiler,
get into no. We could get into the weeds of the John Wick universe.
but
We don't
sure.
need to.
There's supposed to be a TV show too, right? At some point,
Like a Ballerina TV show?
didn't they announce a TV show?
I thought so.
John Wick franchise. Yeah, there's a prequel television miniseries, The Continental, which
Oh, The
came out in
Continental.
2023.
Oh, that came out already?
And we did.
Oh, I don't think anyone watched it.
It stars Mel Gibson.
What? No way.
Yeah, it stars Mel Gibson. It's called The Continental. It came out in 2023 on Peacock.
Oh, I have Peacock.
I
That is Mel Gibson.
I kind of have to watch this. I'm sure it's not good, otherwise we would have heard about it. But
Oh, because yeah, Brad, they have a young actor playing young Ian McShane.
right, well, it's got a
Scott.
63% on Rotten Tomatoes, which isn't. It's not
It's not-
stellar, but it's not the
Yeah.
worst percentage.
I don't know. The top Reddit post is the Continental series is so bad it hurts.
Okay.
But Mel Gibson, wow. Huh. Maybe
Yeah.
I'll make time for this.
I'm reading a review that says it'll be most satisfying for hardcore fans invested in the franchise's world building.
Oh, it's 3 90-minute episodes.
Oh, so it's basically like three short movies, I guess.
Exactly.
I'm into it. I got something to watch now.
There you go. Oh, add it to the list.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I figured out what I didn't like
Oh, go for it.
about Ballerina. And it's not that I hated it. It was just really distracting to me. Is just Norman Reedus.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I've seen so much Walking Dead, and that guy just looks exactly the same as he did 20 years ago when The Walking Dead was popular. However long ago that was.
Right. Well, because he's still playing that character, so he can't change his look. Like, he has to keep the
Right.
beard and the shaggy hair because he's still playing Daryl. I think his name, the character name is.
Well, I think he is so much Daryl. Like, I think they wrote Daryl to be Norman Reedus's personality on some level.
Probably,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? And like
Yeah.
his mannerisms, I think, are actually Norman Reedus's mannerisms.
Sure.
And so I don't know why I'm insulting a bunch of actors this episode, but I don't think Norman Reedus is that good an actor. He's good as Daryl because I think they've written it so that he can be good as Daryl.
Mhm.
Not only that, but he had a decade to like perfect that character, decade plus. And in this, it just kind of felt like Daryl from Walking Dead was in this movie.
I agree with you completely. Yeah.
Yeah, and like they didn't give him any different look, any different personality traits, any different even fighting style or anything. Like I just kept waiting for him to jump on a motorcycle and stuff like that, ride off into the woods. I was just ready for it.
He had like a white tank top and a shotgun. So I'm like, you're fighting zombies, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I did like him in The Bike Riders. I don't know if you remember his role in that.
I don't, but maybe that's a good example of like maybe put him in something different and put him in a different time period. You know what I mean? Just make it different enough that I'm not thinking about Walking Dead the whole time.
Right. He kind of played like, I mean, okay, he's on a motorcycle still, but
right.
He played like this sort of insidious club member from a different city, maybe from like LA, like kind of like a Hell's Angels type character. And you're like, oh, is he good for good reasons or not good reasons? Why is he here?
Yeah, was he kind of a wacky character, like an insidiously wacky character?
Yes.
Kind of?
Yeah.
Okay, I remember it now.
Not Michael Shannon was just a weird character, but yeah.
Right.
Norman Reedus was sort of like this.
I'm probably thinking of the Michael Shannon character.
I would say Norman Reedus had a small role in the Bike Riders.
Right.
Where Michael Shannon was one of the members of the motorcycle club.
Gotcha. But that third act, where it's set, how it was executed, the motivation for why she was there and why things were happening, why she was kind of raid style moving through the set piece.
Ooh, raid style like that, yeah.
And the unique use of weapons, specifically in kind of that last sequence, I think all kind of put it over the top for me. And any little little nitpick I had in the setup just kind of went away because it was so much fun to watch.
I saw this with my father-in-law.
Mm-hmm.
He likes the John Wick movies. He and I have seen, I think, 3, 4, and now Ballerina together. And there is a scene where, let's say there's a duel of elements at one point, and he referred to that as the Voldemort moment. Because it reminded me of Harry Potter when like they're both casting spells at each other.
Sure.
So I was like, oh yeah, it does kind of give you some Harry Potter vibes there. This elements duel that's happening on screen.
Definitely, I could see it. Yeah, maybe we should have had a spoiler section. It's just the things I want to spoil are like so small, but I think they're fun details. So I don't want to like spoil it for people.
We could do a short spoiler section.
But I loved how when they got to that last set piece, things unfold in like a very continental kind of way. You know what I mean? Like the same vibe I got when we were introduced to the Continental, where they're like teaching you maybe what you saw from the outside isn't necessarily what's going on the inside.
Oh yeah, okay.
I felt like they did that with the last set piece too,
right?
And that made it super interesting.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Whereas in theory, they could have had like a similar thing in a similar location and still kind of done their thing, but by making it in-world appropriate,
yes,
and a part of a pattern that we've seen in the series, it fit very well for me.
I agree. I agree that it felt more than just like a location. It felt like a location in this world of John Wick.
Right, exactly. All right, anything else we need to say about this one?
Yeah. How did I know that? How did I not know that Gabriel Byrne and Ian McShane look so similar?
Yeah.
Like at first, I'm like, wait, is that Ian McShane? Like, no, that's not Ian McShane. They should have made them brothers. Why not? Make them brothers.
Yeah. The other thing I didn't realize is how small Ian McShane is.
Like he's short.
I didn't like. He was standing next to Ana de Armas, who's not a large human being, and
he's 5'7".
He was smaller than her. Yeah, I see. Like when I see Ian McShane, I think about Deadwood, and his presence in Deadwood, is bigger than life.
Yeah,
and so I'm sure you see him in Deadwood next to taller people too, but I just never clocked it until I saw him next to Ana de Armas, and I was like, he's shorter than her. You know what I mean? And also, I think he's gotten older and like thinned out quite a bit as he's gotten older. Or maybe he just had more weight earlier on in his career.
Possibly, yeah.
He is 82. So
He's
it might-
82.
It might just be an age thing that he's.
Wow,
You know,
he looks great for 82.
yeah, he really does. But he looks very different than he probably did at 62 when I was watching
Sure.
Deadwood. So
I know he was 82.
yeah,
Oh wow, good for him.
married 3 times.
Yeah.
Third time
No.
was the charm, evidently.
Though he's been married to the third spouse since 1980. So
He
you know,
he
3
figured
times,
it out.
but right, the third one is the one that stuck for sure.
Sure.
So.
Yeah. All right. Anything else?
That's all I got to say about Ballerina.
That's
or
all.
from the John Wick presents the world of Ballerina, Hobbs and Shaw. A solo story.
Maybe before we go, let's talk about this.
Okay.
It's one thing to like, I don't know. So Hobbs and Shaw, isn't it?
That's Fast and Furious presents.
That's
Hobbs
Fast and
Shaw.
Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw.
Yep.
But then you've got things like attaching a Star Wars story to the ends of things.
You got Solo, a Star Wars story. You have
Right.
Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery, which is maybe the most egregious of all of them.
Right. So does it say something when people put the recognizable name on the end versus the beginning? Like if you put it at the beginning, are you just really nervous?
Yes, I think if you put it at the beginning, you want people to see Fast and Furious. You want people to see John Wick.
Right.
Right.
Whereas like
Is it-
Rogue One, a Star Wars story is like, people are gonna, it's Star Wars. People are gonna watch this no matter what we name it.
Yeah,
But,
same for Solo. Yeah, people are gonna
Right.
figure this out.
yeah.
What was Lost World? Is that Lost World Jurassic Park 2? I mean, I know it's not a spin-off, but that had its own weird title to it.
Pretty sure there wasn't a 2, but the Lost World is first.
Okay. But the words Jurassic Park are in there, aren't they?
It's the Lost World Jurassic Park.
Okay, the Lost World. So that's kind of like Glass Onion a Knives Out mystery.
Right. But the weird thing is Knives Out is not a spin-off. Like the second Knives Out it's just an anthology series.
Right. They carry one character over.
Right.
It's not really it's a sequel, but it's not really a sequel to the events of the first movie.
Right. And I guess Knives Out has better name recognition than whatever whatever his name is, character's name is.
Oh, like Beauchamp, whatever. I can't think of what his name is. It's not that. It's something what is his name?
I don't know.
It's something ridiculous sounding.
But I mean, he's like a detective, right? And he's like solving mysteries, and each movie is a different mystery.
Benoit Blanc. There you go.
Right. Benoit
Right.
Blanc. And we've had those before, like the I don't know.
Well, like this is more BBC, but there was a whole Poirot series,
Right.
right? And that was Poirot something, or like Miss Marple, but because those were recognizable, Agatha Christie characters.
Yeah. Or like Pink Panther.
Right, Pink Panther. Yeah,
Pink Panther Returns. You know what I mean? Like every movie was like a different storyline. It's
Even
just
though
the Pink Panther carried over.
Well, so here's the crazy thing, though, that the Pink Panther is the diamond.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
So I mean, so
not
that's
actually
even right. Like Inspector Clouseau is not the Pink Panther, but they just kept calling it the Pink Panther because that's what people knew. They recognized that the most.
Right. Do you think Rian Johnson, when they started talking about the title of Glass Onion, do you think he proposed them putting Knives Out at the end?
I
The
think
title?
he hates it.
Or do you
I
think
think
you think they forced that on him?
I think they, as a Netflix, forced that. I'm pretty sure. I've got to go dig back into this, but I'm pretty sure Rian Johnson was like, I do not care for this whatsoever. But
So in his mind, it's called Glass Onion.
it's called Glass Onion, but it's
Right.
Netflix's money. So
I don't remember what comes up in the title. Is it just Glass Onion, or does it literally say in the film Glass Onion, a Knives Out
Ooh.
mystery? Because if
I
it
don't-
just says Glass Onion, then in my opinion, that's the title of the movie. Everything else is just Netflix marketing.
So if I look at again Letterboxd just calls it Glass Onion, but the
Mhm.
poster is Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery.
Sure.
Wonder IMDb says. We have not star rated Ballerina yet.
I know.
IMDb also calls it Glass Onion. Nothing, but the poster has Knives Out Mystery in small font below it.
Sure. I mean, it's, clearly this movie, Ballerina, benefits from the name John Wick being on the poster from like a
Right.
butts in seats perspective. But it would have been cool if they just called it Ballerina and some people magically found out it's related to John Wick.
Yeah, like, oh, cool, look at that.
Yeah. I mean, it would have been fun to know nothing about this movie and then be watching it and be like, wait, this is in the same universe? You know what I mean? Like, that would have been fun.
John Wick, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You and I know far too much about this stuff to be that surprised by it, but would have been fun. Anyway. All right, let's get to it. Let's letterbox from the world of John Wick, Ballerina. Out of 5 stars, what are you going to give it?
I'm going to give this 3.5.
I also gave it a 3.5.
Perfect.
But the more we've talked about it, the more good feelings I've had. And it could easily be a 4 on rewatch.
It could be a 4 on rewatch, especially since I know what's coming.
Right.
Yeah.
It surprised me in mostly good ways, and I would absolutely watch another one.
My father-in-law was having a great time watching this movie.
Nice.
Yeah, he was really enjoying it. So
cool.
High marks from him.
2 3.5s for Ballerina. Let's move into our top 10 movie spinoffs. So I went to Wikipedia, and Wikipedia gave me a definition of spinoff. All right.
Okay. Go for
So
it.
we don't necessarily have to both agree to this, but I thought it was pretty good. A spin-off or spin-off is any narrative work derived from an already existing work that focuses on different aspects from the original work. So it's like,
yeah, that's a pretty broad definition, but
so to me, it's like if the original trilogy is about Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker and using the Force, you know what I mean? The good light side versus dark side. Then it's a spin-off, even if it follows the same timeline, has the same characters. It's a spin-off if the bulk of this new story is not really about that.
oh yeah, I would say that there are several movies on my list where the events of the plot take place concurrently to the movie it's being spun off from.
Mm-hmm.
But right, we're focusing on either a one-off or side characters.
Mm-hmm.
Right. We're not focusing on the main story.
They've now become the main story, and their purpose for being the main characters is not shared with the original series.
Correct. And maybe what they are doing will affect the main storyline in a bigger way. Like,
Sure. Or give you better context for it.
exactly.
Whatever.
There's one famous example. It'll probably be on both of ours. I will say what I avoided was TV spinoffs because those feel like more like adaptations. Like I didn't do Wayne's World or Borat because you could technically say those are spinoffs of those characters because they're sketch characters, but that feels like more like TV adaptations in movies, and that's a different list in my mind.
Same here. I kept it
Okay.
all to films.
Good, perfect.
Films that exist that then were spun off. You want to go first?
I would love to go first.
Do it.
All right, my number 10 is a movie that I thought was hilarious at the time,
Mhm.
and it's definitely a spinoff. I'm not sure how well this movie has aged, and we can talk about it. But this is 2010's Get Him to the Greek,
Okay.
which is directed by Nicholas Stoller. This is a spinoff of Forgetting Sarah Marshall. This stars red flag number 1, Russell Brand, who's remaking his Aldous Snow character from Forgetting Sarah Marshall. And in this case, he's being managed by Jonah Hill, who is in Forgetting Sarah Marshall, but now he's playing a different character. So in the Forgetting Sarah Marshall universe, Jonah Hill has played 2 different characters now.
Mm-hmm.
And this is essentially a movie about, Jonah Hill's the straight man trying to manage Russell Brand's Aldous Snow and keep him like on a world tour and sort of keep his career moving forward. Hilarity ensues. My favorite scene, and this is red flag number 2, they go to a Diddy party.
Sure.
And they do drugs there, and they like stroke the walls, and it's hilarious. But I'm like, oh man, Russell Brand and Diddy in one movie. I don't know. Should I bring this up? But I liked it at the time. This was obviously 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if it holds up anymore, but it was pretty funny in the moment.
I mean, I think I don't know about Diddy. I don't know enough about Diddy. But as far as Russell Brand, he seems to have had a personality swap. You know what I mean?
Like right around COVID, something flipped in him.
Something broke in that dude,
Yeah,
for sure. I'm not excusing his behavior because of that, but the guy who made Get Him to the Greek, I don't think is the same dude that we see today.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one.
What's her name broke his brain, evidently.
Katy Perry.
Katy Perry. Yep.
That's astronaut Katy Perry to you.
You're right.
Captain Katy Perry, she would prefer to be called.
I feel bad for her because, like, I feel like the world changed around her, and she's just doing the exact same thing she did through the 2010s, and yet everybody's. I mean, I know the whole thing with like Dr. whatever his name is, Dr.
Phil.
No. So
the producer.
The producer. A lot of people are mad at her because the producer who abused Kesha is like,
yes,
Katy Perry's still working with him.
Dr. Braun or Scooter or something. I don't know. Yeah.
I don't remember his name, but
I know what you're talking about.
So I think she brings some scrutiny on herself. But at the same time, like, if you're just looking at the music, it's exactly the same stuff she was doing when she was popular. And yet people are not having it anymore.
No, right. The world has changed. She has not.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I feel bad for her, but she's filthy rich, so I really shouldn't. She's fine, I'm sure.
And an astronaut, so to boot.
Absolutely.
Have you been to space, James?
I haven't. I'm not sure. I mean, I guess technically she's been to space too, but it's not the same.
She technically has been to space because she's broken whatever like low Earth orbit or whatever. Like, there's a fine line of where space is, and they were in space for several seconds. So, right. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. My number 10, 2018's Bumblebee from the Transformers franchise. Have you seen Bumblebee?
Never seen Bumblebee, but I think Galen wants to see it. It seems like maybe an appropriate movie for him to watch.
Totally appropriate.
Perfect.
In my opinion. Bumblebee is by far the best Transformers movie. I don't know how many how many you've seen, but like, if you've seen one, you've seen them all of the original series. Whereas Bumblebee takes one of the few Autobots that like has a personality, sets it pre-Transformers movie, sets it in the 80s.
Okay, yeah.
Gives you a main character played by the totally capable Haley Steinfeld, and it's kind of like a sci-fi buddy cop movie. It's not cops, but buddy movie,
right? Between
this robot and this this young person in the 80s, and all like the 80s-ness of the movie makes total sense when you think about the Transformers, because that's where it was birthed, right, in the 80s. And so there's just a lot of stuff. I felt like in the Transformers franchise, they're constantly trying to make the Transformers feel like it was invented yesterday. You know what I mean? Like, it's intensely mechanically complicated and, you know, whatever. Whereas they just went back to the basics and tried to make like a fun 80s vibe, lower pressure Transformers movie. Right. And that's what they got in Bumblebee. Super fun, super relatable, very human feeling, which is what I always wanted out of the Transformers movies, was like human stories that happen to have Transformers in them. Instead, we got Transformers movies that happen to have humans in them.
And those humans are Shia LaBeouf and Megan Fox.
Yeah. Also, they changed the director. It's no longer what's his name?
Michael Bay.
Michael Bay. You're talking about the guy. This guy directed Kubo and the Two Strings.
Oh, yeah.
So like, his filmography isn't like super deep, but he was a producer on Paranormals and Box Trolls. Evidently he's directing the upcoming Masters of the Universe movie, which is interesting. But anyway, so it's a director that doesn't necessarily have like a deep filmography, but he just doesn't have that Michael Bay sensibility for the better.
Right.
It's like if you're looking for a normal, perfectly acceptable, fun to watch Transformers movie, don't watch any of the original Transformers movies. Just watch Bumblebee. I haven't seen Year One. I think you saw that one, right?
I've not seen Year One. I think my son saw Year One.
Okay.
I haven't seen it though. Yeah,
he
liked it. It's animated. It's silly. Yeah.
Yeah. I think you told me that Galen watched it or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't vouch for that movie. Bumblebee charmed me. I enjoyed it. My number 10.
Awesome. All right. My number 9 is the Lego Batman movie. This is a spinoff of the Lego movie. In the Lego movie, Will Arnett's voices Batman, and he's a pretty fun character. He's he's a definitely a riff on the seriousness of Batman and the darkness and the whole pastiche of Batman. And then they made a whole Lego Batman movie with him. And the movie, it's very silly. It plays up the laughs. It plays up, Bruce Wayne being this rich guy who's kind of out of touch, who wants to just do everything his own way. But this movie is frenetic. Like, this movie is caffeine on cocaine with colors everywhere. And like, I can see why kids would like it, because it's just assaulting your senses the entire time. I found it to be, I find it watchable. It's on my list here, but like, it's not really telling a story like the Lego movie is. It's more of a kid's movie of like, we have to work together and trust our friends. And then here's a whole bunch of colors and action and humor all being thrown at you at once. So, maybe a little bit more accessible to kids because it's not as deep as Lego movie, but I think for adults, not quite as enjoyable.
100% agree with everything you said. I mean, I found that movie to be annoyingly jokey, which seems like a weird criticism for a Lego movie, but it just was like constant jokes to the point where I was just like, what am I watching here? This is just
it's jokes in color.
Right.
Yeah.
There wasn't much for anybody other than 10 years old and younger.
Right.
My number 9 from 2019, Dr. Sleep, which I feel like comes up a lot lately for some reason.
It has recently, yeah.
And I'm the one always bringing it up because I think I'm the only person that's seen it. That's on this.
No,
podcast.
I've seen it.
Oh, you've seen it. Okay.
I seen it and I hated it.
All right.
It was an unenjoyable watch for me.
Interesting. You hated it completely. I don't understand that. I feel like you can hate it. You can hate it for whatever reason you want, but I feel like maybe you're just too close to The Shining.
I mean, The Shining is my number 4 movie of all, maybe number 5 movie of all time. Yeah,
sure. So, would you rather never have a sequel to The Shining than have a movie like Dr. Sleep and then maybe another attempt later on at a sequel?
So, okay, I don't know if I'm gonna answer your question by not answering your question. Ask your question again, because I have a response, but I want to make sure I'm actually answering your question.
Sure.
Would I rather not have any sequels to The Shining? Is what you're saying?
No. What I'm saying is like The Shining classic, right?
Yeah,
it's going to be a classic whether you make sequels to it or spin-offs or whatever. It's always going to be a classic. So, given the task to expand a classic, either through a sequel or a spin-off or whatever, would you rather them just not even try it and it just remains a classic, or that they try it and sometimes they get movies that get, in my opinion, 60% there? You know what I mean?
Rather,
because there's nothing like in Dr. Sleep, in my opinion, maybe you'll disagree, that like violates the sanctity of the first movie for people who really love it.
So, and that I disagree. This is not just me being like, oh, I can't believe this is a sequel. Sure. To me, they do violate the sanctity of it. I don't know how much we want to get into Dr. Sleep right now, but
sure. Like, just give me the top line. What's the worst violation?
Okay. What is the scariest moment of The Shining?
Probably the lady in the shower.
Lady in the bathtub, right?
Sure.
Dr. Sleep goes back to the lady in the bathtub well multiple times and eventually turns it into a punchline.
See, I don't remember that about Dr. Sleep. I remember them going back to the well for sure. That's in there, but I don't remember it becoming a punchline. But I've only seen it once in theaters in 2019, which was 6 years ago. So maybe I just need to rewatch it.
Okay. There is, I believe they use the lady in the shower like 3 times because it's sort of imagery of the hotel.
Okay.
And I'm going to spoil something if I get into it. So I just didn't appreciate that they kept going back to that.
Gotcha.
Like in The Shining, it's so effective because it's out of nowhere. It's horrifying. And then it's over. And you're like, what did I just watch? Right.
Sure.
Like the Shining is not explaining to you what's happening. Right. If you read the book explains to you like why what you're seeing is why what's happening is what's happening on the page and then they transfer to the screen. The Shining doesn't do that. The Shining's like, this place is haunted, the movie I'm talking about.
Sure.
And we're not going to tell you why it's haunted or why you're getting these scenes. There's just some creepy stuff that's happening.
And that's like a Kubrick decision, right? His version of the adaptation was just like, I'm not going to explain these things. You'll just
exactly.
Gotcha.
Right. Exactly. And Stephen King hates the Kubrick adaptation because he makes different changes he does different motivations from the book.
Right. Whereas Dr. Sleep does try to explain some of those things.
Exactly. And
Gotcha.
I think, here's another movie that I haven't watched in a long time. This has come up on the podcast, 2010. I think we had this conversation like 2 weeks ago, the sequel to 2001. I haven't seen it in a long time. I'm pretty sure it's trying to explain to you what happened in 2001. And I want to see it again, but I really feel like, oh man, is this just going to be like, why do we have to explain these things? Why can't we just leave them as what they are?
Sure. So back to my original question.
Yes.
You'd rather them just not even try to make any kind of additional Shining media, films, whatever.
Yeah.
Because nobody will ever get there again.
I think The Shining is a classic. It's perfection for what it is. I think Kubrick is such a unique director. It's hard to go back to his well. And I'm pretty sure either you're trying to mimic him or you're trying to explain him, and both are bad ideas.
Sure. Okay, fair enough. What is your number 8?
Let's just talk about Kubrick some more. Who cares?
Sure.
Let's say on this. My number 8 is Dr. Sleep. No, my number 8 is Lightyear.
Okay.
Which is Lightyear is a spinoff of Toy Story. Lightyear is supposed to be the movie that Andy saw back in like Toy Story 1 that made him fall in love with Buzz Lightyear, the character. I supposedly, right? That's the in-universe explanation. And I would say this is a fine movie. Like I have no huge qualms with it. At no point did I feel like, wow, an 8-year-old would think this is the coolest character in the world. And I kind of wish that the Lightyear movie captured the same energy as Tim Allen's portrayal of Buzz Lightyear. Because Lightyear plays it pretty straight. And Buzz Lightyear is pretty ridiculous with Star Command and, defending the universe. And I kind of wish Lightyear movie was like a Buck Rogers heightened thing. I still enjoyed it for what it is, but I think it could have been so much more fun if it had leaned into the Tim Allen performance of Lightyear.
He doesn't voice it, right? They replaced him.
It's Chris Evans. It's a Chris.
Gotcha.
And that's fine. I didn't need Tim Allen to come back and do it. Like it's okay to have someone else do it. I just wish we got the tone of the Buzz Lightyear character in the Lightyear movie.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not, ride or die on the original performance, but there is something to the bravado of Tim Allen's, performance that I just don't remember being as effective in Lightyear. Also, like that character's the most interesting outside of his intended environment.
Right.
And then they made a movie where he's in his intended environment, and you're just kind of like, so it's a sci-fi action movie, but not for kids, but also not really for adults.
Yeah, like who's the movie for?
Right.
Yeah.
It just didn't feel like a movie that knew what it was really aiming for.
I just want to clarify to everyone, these are my top 10 favorite spin-offs, and I've been kind of dumping on my numbers 7, 8, and the 7 or 8, 9, and 10. So,
Sure.
like I don't know if spin-offs are always the best movies ever made.
No, I had the same issue.
Okay.
Like Bumblebee, Doctor Sleep, couple more before we get into like what I would consider good movies that everybody has to see.
Sure, I agree. Yep.
But these are all fun that I have positive memories for. My number 8, This Is 40, which is
I consider this movie. Yep.
Yeah, this is a comedy, much like directed by the same guy who did
Get Him to the Greek.
I don't think he directed Get Him to the Greek. He directed the one before that.
This is Judd Apatow. But
Right.
Of course.
Did he direct the one
Knocked
that's
Up?
set in Hawaii?
No. Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Yeah.
No, that's also Nicholas Stoller.
Right, but he produced both of those movies.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
I mean, it's Jonah Hill, it's Paul Rudd, it's Jason Segel, it's that cast of people.
Right. It's his crew for sure.
The Apatow verse.
Yeah. So in This Is 40, this is a movie that he made roughly around when the director Judd Apatow turned 40. It stars Paul Rudd, Leslie Mann, John Lithgow, Megan Fox, and Albert Brooks. It is a spin-off of two very minor characters from Knocked Up. If you weren't paying attention or you didn't care, you'd never know this was a spin-off of another movie.
Right.
But it is. And I don't remember much of it, and I've seen it once, but I do remember enjoying it and thinking it had something to say towards the end. It wasn't just like a one-note joke about people getting old.
Yeah.
I mean, it is that, but it's not its only reason for existing. And Judd Apatow, at his best, can make comedies that will make you laugh and also, give you not necessarily a life lesson, but just characters that are complicated and interesting on top of being situationally funny.
Mm-hmm.
And I think This Is 40 is one of his better as far as that goes. And also like Paul Rudd, Leslie Mann, you really can't go wrong with those two people on screen for a couple hours.
They're good.
This Is 40. I enjoyed it.
I saw This Is 40 when I was 29. I should probably rewatch it now that I am, have a kid and am 40 and all that. I'm right in the midst of it. So,
I mean, in 2012, I wasn't 40 yet. I was probably mid 30s.
Okay.
And there honestly wasn't, I was never married with like a household of teenagers and stuff like that. So I can't necessarily relate to all of it. And yet I still found it funny.
I kind of want to give it a second watch.
Cool.
Another movie I want to give a second watch I just ran out of time for, and this ties back to our Clerks talk, because this is the Clerks spinoff, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
Nice.
Now, I would not say Jay and Silent Bob are minor characters in Clerks, but they're definitely not the main characters in Clerks. They're kind of these stoners that hang out outside of the convenience store.
Sure.
But maybe the breakout characters would be the best way to describe them, especially Jason Mewes as Jay.
From a plot perspective, though, they're very tertiary characters.
Oh, yeah. No, it just kind of cuts to them for comedic moments and then goes back into the convenience store for the actual plot in loose quotation marks.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, I believe in this movie they have to go to Hollywood because there's an adaptation being made of their characters like Blunt Man and Chronic. And this movie is sort of spoofing Hollywood and the process, the studio system. It's obviously giving you, what's his name? The guy.
Which one? Kevin Smith?
Kevin Smith, thank you. I couldn't think of his name. I could think it was Fat Man on Batman. That guy, Kevin, yeah. It's obviously giving you Kevin Smith jokes. He plays Silent Bob. It's giving you a lot of Jason Mewes as Jay, who is pretty great in this. And I mean, you also have your normal cast of like Ben Affleck's in here, Matt Damon's in here. And I remember that Mark Hamill makes a cameo.
Mhm.
And in the 2000s, I only knew of Mark Hamill as the guy from Star Wars. I was
Sure.
not aware he had a career after that. So when he popped up in this, like, oh wow, they got Mark Hamill. Like, what's he been up to for the last 20 years? Not knowing he's been the voice of Joker for like a decade and like had a robust acting career or voice acting career,
Mhm.
beyond that. So I thought it was cool to see Mark Hamill pop up. Thinking like, oh man, what a way to throw a bone to a guy.
Yeah, plus he shows up in like a very Star Warsy kind of way, but taking, the mick out of it. Which is
Exactly.
interesting.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do want to rewatch this one. And then I've said this before, and maybe this is a Patreon episode. I want to discuss with you and maybe Zach the Jay and Silent Bob TV show that ran in the 90s or the 2000s for like 6 episodes.
Sure. I mean, I've seen all of them, but it's been decades.
Oh yeah, I had them on DVD. I used to watch them
Yeah.
all the time, and it's been so I don't know. I think let's do a rewatch. It's only 6 episodes, or like half hour each.
Sure. Did
And
you
then-
watch Jay and Silent Bob reboot?
No, is that worth
You should
watching?
see that. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. I mean,
Okay.
like the movies that Kevin Smith makes based on his good old movies are worth watching from like a nostalgia perspective. There will be a couple jokes in there that are funny, and
You're right.
then there will be a couple that you'll roll your eyes. But if you're just looking for something to have fun with, they're like just constant cameo fests from the old movies. Because
Yeah.
Kevin Smith, whether you like him as a director or not, his friends like him. And so all he pretty much has to do is say, I'm making this, will you do it? And they all do it. And so I think that says something. And it's the way he can make Jay and Silent Bob reboot and have Ben Affleck and Matt Damon still show up for a movie that's like wasn't even released in theaters. You know what I mean? Like they're not doing that for just anybody, but they'll do it
No,
for
they're
him.
doing it for him. Oh yeah, I see Joey Adams is in this, Jason Lee, Brian O'Halloran. Yeah,
It's the whole crew, and some
it's
of
the
them
crew.
are barely in it, and some of them
Yep.
are in it a lot. So
All right, I've added to the list. It's on Prime.
nice.
Easy watch for me. Number 7, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
My number 7, Paranormal Activity: The
Oh,
Marked Ones, which is the only spin-off Paranormal Activity movie. All the rest are like main timeline stuff. The only thing that ties this movie with the original franchise, Paranormal Activity franchise, is that the same type of spirit that haunts in the originals haunts in this movie. Instead of it being set in, let's be honest, a white couple's house,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? Shot through security cameras and video cameras. Instead of that, it's 3 Mexican teenagers in LA in like like in a Spanish community, basically.
Sure.
And there's like I'm definitely not an expert about like Mexicans and what they believe from a spiritual level, but my perception is a lot of Catholics, spirits, demons, you know what I mean, are just like a part of the mix of their
Mhm.
religious world. And so they work some of that in as well. I thought it was interesting. It follows the format. It's a found footage horror movie, low budget. They barely spent anything on it. I'm sure it's on Wikipedia. Let's see what they spent on this. $9.2 million.
Okay, yeah, no,
And it
not a lot.
made $90 million.
Wow.
And to them, that's a failure, which is why they didn't make any more. And that's Paranormal Activity for you. It's like they would spend like less than 10 million on these things and expect them to make like 300-400 million dollars,
Right,
because some of the prior ones did that. And so they tried to spin off. They tried to see if it would work in a new environment. I think from a creativity perspective, it worked, but they didn't continue with the spinoffs. And they eventually like released them so fast. I mean, this is a spinoff that was based on a movie from 2007.
Okay.
This came out in 2014, and it was the last Paranormal Activity movie. So they made 6 Paranormal Activity movies and a spinoff in 7 years. That's how fast.
Crazy.
That's how fast they were pumping them out. It was like one a year. One, they're easy to make, and 2, I think they tired out the audience on Paranormal Activity.
Yeah, went to the well too often.
Any day now, though, I am shocked by how much they like are resurrecting old properties. I am shocked that Paranormal Activity has not come back yet.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it doesn't seem that old, but it is like a 20-year-old property now, almost.
We haven't had a Paranormal Activity movie in 10 years.
Yeah. Okay. Look at that. Now, did you enjoy this movie because there weren't a lot of Latina actresses in it? It was mostly men.
No, there's a Latina actress in it.
Okay.
How
was her enunciation for you?
These movies aren't really about dialogue.
I know. Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, clearly whoever is the main actress in this is better than Ana de Armas. Gabrielle Walsh.
Okay. I don't know if I've heard that name, but all right.
She plays Marisol. And then went on to do a bunch of TV, evidently. What's your next one?
My number 6 is Split. This is a M. Night Shyamalan movie, which is a spin-off of Unbreakable, which is my second favorite M. Night Shyamalan movie, which I did rewatch a couple months ago.
Okay.
And it's a good movie, but man, it really feels like a movie from the era. Just
really
like you just realize how much movie language has evolved.
Are you talking about Split or are you talking about Unbreakable?
Unbreakable.
Okay, Unbreakable. It's
yes,
been a
Unbreakable.
while since I've seen Unbreakable.
Yeah, like I mean, M. Night Shyamalan's he's never subtle with color, but the use of color on Unbreakable is hitting you over the head.
Interesting.
It's just a I just realized, oh man, movies have changed a lot in 20 years, and it's the film language has changed so much. But Split, this is a modern movie. At least it's 9 years old now, but it's more modern. And this movie stars James McAvoy as a man who has multiple personalities, and he kidnaps Anya Taylor-Joy and maybe some other people, and essentially just having this war of personalities in front of Anya Taylor-Joy while she's in a basement or a locked room. So it's pretty much takes place in one location, and you've got James McAvoy just giving you a big performance where he's playing 23 different personalities. He's jumping between them, and he really is the star of this movie. And then they later tie it into the larger Unbreakable universe, and I never saw Glass or anything beyond that. But, this is a movie where you're watching, you're thinking this is just, a one-off, and then they kind of at the end tie into the whole larger universe.
You should see Glass.
Is it worth it?
I don't think it's going to be your favorite movie, but if you've invested 2 movies into this, you know what I mean? There is a finality to Glass, I would say.
Sure.
Whether you like it or not, at least it's a completing of the story.
Is Glass Bruce Willis's last kind of major role? I know he was active for a while in like straight to streaming movies, but
right. That's a good question that I don't really have the answer for.
Because I would maybe watch it just to see here's like one last good one from Willis before,
Yeah, I mean
he was exploited.
It follows closer to Unbreakable, where it's like definitely kind of like a mood piece, a play on what if comic books were real type of thing, and then in the finale, it decides whether comic books are real.
Okay. Oh, he did Glass in 2019. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 times 5. Then he did 35 more movies after Glass. That's crazy. And like now knowing what he was going through, you're like, oh man, he was probably just being pushed out there to make all these, like Fortress, American Siege, Deadlock, Corrective Measures, Paradise City. These are movies I've never heard of before.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well,
okay.
I mean, I've heard that most of those people bought his name, basically.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
They were like, we'll give you $500,000, 1 day's worth of work. We just want to put your name on the poster.
Exactly. Have you show up.
And his family was like, cool, let's do it.
Yep. Yeah, it looks like Glass was kind of his last major role, at least this big role that weren't in these direct to streaming trash stuff. Yeah.
So when I saw Glass, it was without the perspective of like him having a, cognitive issue.
Sure.
So I wonder if I was to rewatch it now, if you could see things in it that maybe I wasn't seeing in the moment.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you watched it now, if you could actually tell. I'm betting probably not, but
probably not. But it'd be Bruce Willis was a big part of my movie career, my movie watching habits growing up. In the 80s,
Absolutely.
90s, and 2000s. So it'd be nice to have a little bit of finality.
For sure.
What's your number 6?
My number 6 is Shaun the Sheep movie.
Oh yeah.
Which is a spinoff of the short film A Close Shave.
Mm-hmm.
which is the only cheat I have in my entire list.
That's fine. That's totally fine.
Yep. I love this movie. There's almost no dialogue. It's a kids movie. If you like Aardman animation, you've probably already seen this. But it's a fun adventure movie that is, since it doesn't lean on dialogue at all, it's all about action and interaction of Shaun the Sheep and his big adventure in the big city.
Right.
And if you like charming, funny movies, and again, you like what Aardman animation typically sells, I think Shaun the Sheep is up there among some of their best. My number 6.
I have not seen Shaun the Sheep in its entirety. I think I
Okay.
slept through it, so I didn't consider it. But I have seen Shaun the Sheep Farmageddon, which is the sequel to Shaun the Sheep. I left it off, though, because I didn't want to do sequels of spinoffs.
Same
So, like,
here.
I also left off Puss in Boots' Last Wish, because that's a sequel. But have you seen Farmageddon?
I have. I didn't like it as much as Shaun the Sheep.
Oh,
the
really?
movie.
Okay, interesting.
But there wasn't anything necessarily wrong with it. I just have
Right.
I have better warm fuzzies about the original for some reason.
Totally fair. Yep. All right. My number 5 is Ballerina.
Nice. I didn't even consider Ballerina for my list.
Okay.
It would
That's fine.
probably be in here somewhere.
Yeah, probably.
But it's not going to make my list. And my number 5, Solo: A Star Wars Story.
Oh, you like this?
Which is based on the Star Wars franchise, clearly.
Yep.
Spin-off of. Would you consider this? It's a spin-off, right? Because it focuses on one character that's not the main character of the first series.
Yeah, it's a spinoff.
He's a big character in the first series, but he's not the main character. And yeah, it's an origin story of sorts for what we know of Solo in the Star Wars universe. Well, actually, it's not even like, it's more like why we would care about Han Solo. Like, it's giving us context for how he got involved in the rebellion. Basically.
Right. There's sort of hints of a backstory in the original trilogy.
Right.
And then this movie's like, well, what if we explain all of them?
Right. And this movie got dogged at release. I think 1, people were kind of tired of Star Wars movies. 2, just Harrison Ford is he's a very specific actor that people are attached to. They're definitely attached to his version of Han Solo. Just like they're attached to his version of Indiana Jones. Like, whoever needs to be the next Indiana Jones is probably going to fail. It's probably going to take at least one actor to fail before we get another Indiana Jones that people will accept.
I think we need a dead Harrison Ford before we get another Indiana Jones people accept.
Sure. Or at least one that's like not acting anymore.
True. Okay, we're retired. Let's be less morbid. A retired Harrison Ford.
Sure. So it was already kind of an uphill battle. I think judging the movie away from all of those elements, I think it's a fun sci-fi movie that tells an interesting piece of Star Wars history. It's not an integral part that you have to watch to get the best of what Star Wars has to offer. It's a true spinoff where it's kind of like, this is a side story that really has no huge consequence as far as furthering any stories. We're just giving you backstory into what you already know. And I had fun with it. And I also thought, what's his name who played Han Solo? Alden Ehrenreich.
Right.
Was good in it and interesting. I mean, if there was one kind of like lukewarm thing I'm on, it's that Woody Harrelson. I'm just tired of seeing him in movies. Didn't really need him in my Star Wars. And Emilia Clarke. It wasn't that she was a problem. It's just the character itself felt unnecessary.
The best parts of those movies, it's like when it's him and who plays Donald Glover playing Lando, like on the Millennium Falcon.
I want him.
Those are fun. Yeah.
Donald Glover and Chewbacca getting in good mischief. You know what I mean?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. No world saving, just into mischief. They're rogues. They're bandits. They're not good people. I'm not saying that they're bad people either, but they're morally great people.
Right.
And I want to see that moral greatness.
I know they'd probably never do this, but I think it would be fun if they did like a Disney Plus, like 6-episode series, same characters, same world, and just continue the Solo story over there. I think it'd be fun and lower pressure. You know what I mean? Like the pressure put on this movie to be way more than it ever was going to be. I think it was just kind of doomed to fail because of all the Star Wars kind of failing at the box office at the time, on top of you're replacing Han Solo. You can't replace Han Solo.
Yeah, that's an irreplaceable character.
Also, I forgot about this, but like all the Lord and Miller-ness of it, and like the idea that like we weren't getting the movie we were supposed to get, and like,
Ron
all that
Howard
stuff.
for the reshoots, and all that.
I think it was unfairly critiqued at the time. Is it much better than what people said in the time? Not by miles, but it's a little better than what people were acting like at the time. So there we go. My number 5.
Your number 5. Yep. My number 4 is Finding Dory. This is a spinoff of Finding Nemo.
You consider this a spinoff?
I would say so, considering that Dory's the main character now, and it's kind of more about her story. Like Nemo and Marlin are in it, but definitely this is about Dory, played by Ellen DeGeneres, trying to like find her family finally.
You're right. I think this is a spinoff.
Yeah, I think it's a spinoff. So.
I didn't consider it for the list, but now that you talk about it, I agree. Go ahead.
Yeah. Finding Nemo is great. It's classic Pixar. And I think Finding Dory is a good late Pixar movie. It's definitely not my favorite of the era. It is a spinoff, but it's smart that it's focusing on different character. We're not just getting back of more like, oh, Nemo's lost again. And this is much more about like Dory trying to figure out where she came from. Where is her family? She has this new family that she found with Marlin and Nemo, but what about the family that she lost, way back when we saw Finding Nemo? I also like that this movie is mostly set in an aquarium. So it's a little bit different setting, and like, sorry, not an aquarium, a sea life habitat.
Sure.
Like a research center. So you're getting different animals, different sea creatures, but some of them who've like never actually been in the sea before. They're all just, have been living within this, this protected habitat for them. That's clever. So my favorite character is voiced by Ed O'Neill, and he's not an octopus. He's a cephalopus. He only has 7 limbs, and it's because the animators couldn't figure out how to fit 8 limbs on the body. So they can only get 7 on there. So like, we'll say he lost one. Let's make him a 7-limbed octopus.
Sure.
So,
did they make jokes about that in the movie?
I believe someone says you're an octopus. He's like, I'm a cephalopus. So yes, I believe it's called out.
Sure.
But I don't know if they explain why he only has 7 arms instead of 8.
I need to rewatch.
I've only seen it the one time, but
yeah, I need to rewatch it because I saw it once and I was not hot on it. I don't remember my gripes, but for some reason, again, the back of my memory is saying you didn't like this when it came out. Not necessarily I hated it, just was nonplussed by it.
I mean, Inside Out came out the year before, and so like Inside Out's like, oh my god, this is Pixar like firing all cylinders again,
right?
And then their next movie is a spin-off sequel, so I could see how you'd be like, oh really, we're doing this is what we're doing next.
Also, like Toy Story is the only one that's been able to do sequels for me, as far as Pixar goes. You got Monsters University and Finding Dory, and yeah, neither one of them captured the magic of the original. For
Cars.
me. Cars, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
What about Inside Out 2?
Inside Out 2 is decent.
Yeah, I think that's a good sequel.
I don't think it's as classic as the original, but
no, I concur.
But I think it had its own things to say.
Yeah.
I liked it. My number 4 is the probably one of a few bingos we're gonna have in this top area. Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back from 2001.
Right. Nice.
I enjoy that movie as well. It's probably one of Kevin Smith's, at least in the early movies, like most competent movies. Like it's kind of a straightforward of the time, early 2000s. Not a teen comedy, but it has the vibe of a teen comedy.
Yes.
A little bit of like the gross out humor of the time, and certainly.
Oh, isn't there like a heist or a van of like hot women or something?
It literally has what's her name from American Pie in it. You know,
Shannon Elizabeth. Right?
Shannon Elizabeth.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Exactly. I it's all coming back to me now.
Right. Yeah. There's a lot of DNA from comedies of the time that are shoved in that movie. And I think it's better for it. It kind of stands out in my mind. I enjoy it. My number 4.
All right. My number 3, probably going to be a bingo. Rogue One, a Star Wars story.
That's an exact bingo. It's also my number 3.
Oh, perfect. All right. Yeah. So this movie is about the stealing of the Death Star plans. Mm-hmm. Right. We hear about this in the first movie. How about the plans of the Death Star are stolen. That's how we know about this exhaust port that can be used if you're blown up. This is sort of the backstory to you get how the plans were stolen, but also like the development of the Death Star and sort of how the Empire and the Rebellion affect other people within this world. I mean, I like that this movie moves away from Skywalkers and Siths and Jedis. And it's sort of like, what are normal people doing during the Empire, during the Rebellion? How are normal people participating in this, not just the most powerful people in the universe? Mm-hmm. So this movie makes the Star Wars universe bigger. And I think it's the first one to actually make it bigger. I'll be like, there's other things happening within this universe besides Skywalkers and Jedis and Sith invaders and all that. Mm-hmm. And it gives you some really, I think, unique action sequences we had not seen in a Star Wars movie before, especially like having Donnie Yen, a little bit more martial arts in there, giving some more like urban combat. This movie came out with 2016, so we're past the height of the Iraq War and the Afghanistan War, but we've seen lots of urban combat war movies come out about those, and I think Rogue One dipped their toes into that too. Like, well, what does urban combat look like in the Star Wars universe? So yeah, I think this is a pretty accomplished spin-off movie.
Nice. I don't have much to add other than you haven't watched Andor yet, right?
No, I want to. So I tried watching Andor like when season 1 came out and didn't get into it. Just other things are going on. And I want to watch it again. But Galen says he wants to watch it too.
Sure.
And every time he and I can watch TV, I'm like, hey, let's watch Andor. He's like, I want to watch Impractical Jokers instead. So sure. I might have to tell him like, hey, if we're going to do this, we're doing this. Because if not, I'm moving on without you. Because I've heard Andor is really good and I want to get into it. So
yeah, the first season is good.
Yeah,
it's definitely like better than your typical Star Wars TV.
Sure.
Just because it's very everything is treated very seriously.
Yeah.
And the first half is a heist movie, and the second half is something else that I'm not going to say right now. Sure. But it's like definitely there's 2 halves to this.
Yeah.
Against the backdrop of very early rebellion, like people just kind of saying, so this isn't cool, right? What the Empire's doing is not cool, right?
We're not down with this.
You agree, right? You agree. Yeah. And it's like politicians and bounty hunters, and like you're just seeing pieces of all these people in society who are all feeling the same kind of way about the Empire. Even though some people are on the good side and some people are on the bad side. They don't like being pushed around, basically, by the Empire. So the first season, You're meeting a bunch of people that you saw in Rogue One.
Yep.
You're getting a bunch of their backstory around these kind of like 2 half seasons. Then they had a plan for 5 seasons, right?
Oh, wow.
But the guy who directed it, the first season, was supposed to, show run the second season. He was like, I can't imagine doing this for like another 15 years. Like that's how long this would take for us to get through 5 seasons. He's like, I'm in my like 60s or 70s. I'm not dedicating that much time to Andor. So they took what they had mapped out, and instead of just kind of like ditching a bunch of it, they made a 12 episode season for season 2, and the first 3 episodes are season 2, and the next 3 are season 3, and the next 3 are season 4, and the last are season 5.
So they condensed it.
So there are large time jumps between episode 3 and 4 and 6 and 7, and they're kind of 4 individual movies. Some episodes are like 30 minutes long, and some of them are like 50 minutes long. So once you combine the episodes in this, sets of 3, they're kind of 4 little movies.
Yeah, it's like a miniseries. Yeah.
Right. And the reason why it's worth watching is because it's the only show that I can remember that doesn't rely on action. It's not to say there's no action. It's just all palace intrigue stuff. Like the good stuff is that stuff. And when they made it, it was pre certain person getting elected again. And
you mean people don't want military in their city enforcing laws? Empire.
You will watch Andor and be
my goodness.
Like, how is this a perfect allegory for what I feel right now? You know what I mean?
I'm sure.
Yeah. There's a lot of the like weird cognitive dissonance. I don't know what you call it, but there's, a lot of that going on in my brain.
Yeah. You're like, is this narrative or documentary?
Right. Yeah. And the guy who directed it is the guy who wrote all the Bourne movies. It's not shot Bourne style, but it's shot like modern movie. You know what I mean? Not shaky cam, but like steady cam, and just lots of characterization. Just really good. And those of you who haven't watched it should check it out.
I do want to see it. If Galen doesn't watch it, I'm just gonna move on without him. Sorry, kid.
Yeah. There's really nothing he couldn't. I'm not sure Galen would like it because it is very like talky.
Sure.
There isn't a lot of action, like I said. When there's action, it pays off so well because they've spread it out.
Right. Perfectly. Yeah. So you're ready for it. Yeah.
It's like Game of Thrones, where it was like you could go through like 3 or 4 episodes where it felt like nothing happened. And then you got this big payoff and you were like, oh, stuff happened. I just didn't realize it was happening because it built to this. And this is great because they set it up well. That's how Andor feels. Anyway.
Well, he loves Game of Thrones, so this should be good.
Nice.
He's not seen Game of Thrones. No, that's a joke. That's
there's
a joke.
There is a lot of, short of like the nudity and the ultra violence, it feels like a very Game of Thrones show.
I'm sure it's thematically similar. Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's all palace intrigue stuff too.
Exactly. Yep.
So,
well, I'm looking forward to it. We'll see if he gets around to it.
Speaking of looking forward to things, what's your number 2?
My number 2 is Furiosa: a Mad Max saga. We did not bring this one up when we did our naming.
Also my number 2.
I think I know what your number 1 is.
I think I know what your number 1
okay.
is.
All right. I am having a mea culpa on this movie because when we saw it, was it last summer or 2 summers ago? Whenever it came out.
That was
2024, last summer. Mm-hmm. I was really hard on this movie.
Sure.
And I was hard. I gave it 3.5 stars, but I was hard on this movie because it wasn't Mad Max Fury Road.
Sure.
And maybe this is my shining issue that we were discussing it earlier, where I was like, when you have the perfect thing, I don't know if I want you to try and make more of the perfect thing because it's not going to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I rewatched this. Actually, on the plane to when I came to visit you guys in Orlando back in January. On your phone as George, not Romero. What's his name?
Sure.
Can't think of the director's name. You know what I'm talking about.
I 100% know who you're talking about. You're talking about
as
George
he wants
Miller.
George Miller, thank you. George Miller. He wants you to watch this movie on your phone, on an airplane, over Southwest streaming. I watched it again, and there is so much good stuff in this movie. And I really just focused on the stuff I didn't like. And there's still things I don't like about this movie. A lot of it has to do with kind of how Furiosa rose through the ranks within Immortan Joe's The Citadel. But I think this movie, I mean, Chris Hemsworth, who plays Dementis, amazing. Like, he is incredible in this movie. Anya Taylor-Joy is capturing that same Furiosa energy that Charlize Theron gave us. There's not as much action as Mad Max Fury Road because this is a different kind of movie, but like there are a couple big action spectacles which look great and remind me of that first movie. And yeah, I think upon rewatch, I'm like, oh man, I was way hard in this movie. And I think I was a little whiny about things about the first time I saw it. And you know, I can say Kyle of 2024 was wrong. It's not as good as Fury Road, and I still have some issues with it. But I found a lot more to like the second watch than the first watch. I think the first time I was looking for things to not like about it.
Sure. I mean,
yeah, go ahead.
I have a similar experience with this movie. You remember we talked about it on this podcast.
It's like our viral YouTube episode.
Is it?
Yeah, it's like the one that actually has like 1,000 views and a bunch of people comment. Most people comments are like, these guys are annoying and man, they really hate this movie, don't they?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to say unfairly judge the movie because I think in the moment, all those criticisms were fair. I just think I couldn't see the good in it. I could only see the bad.
Exactly.
On first viewing. And so when I rewatched it, I could let go of some of the bad because it really wasn't that big a deal.
It's not that big of a deal. No.
Right. Funny, weird story. So I've been seeing a counselor lately and, I told him about the podcast and, you know, whatever, told him about how into movies I am. And he said he barely ever watched movies, whatever. We didn't connect real strongly on that. Then like a month later or something like that, he's like, hey, I saw this great action movie, Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. And he was like, this is not the typical kind of movie I watch. This is like an older guy, right? He's probably in his late 60s, early 70s. And I was like, yeah, I never would have guessed this guy would randomly watch that movie. And then I was like, so like, did you like Fury Road? And he was like, he didn't know what that was.
Oh, so he just saw Furiosa.
And I was like, oh man, you have to keep going.
Right. Like if you liked Furiosa for the action.
Right. Yeah. So I was intrigued by that just because one, it didn't seem like the type of person that would just randomly watch Furiosa, Mad Max Saga. And on top of that, somebody to watch it in that order. I just wonder what the experience is like. I'll never know personally, but what the experience would be to go. Because I told him like Furiosa ends with her, spoiler alert, with her walking up to the war machine,
the war rig with the wives. Yeah,
right, with the wives. I was like, that's pretty much where the next movie starts off.
Yeah.
With like a third or maybe even a quarter of the dialogue that a Furiosa has. You know what I mean? Like it's basically like an extension of Furiosa. You know what I mean? The back half or Fury Road is. So anyway, I agree. It's a good spinoff, if not a great spinoff.
Yeah, it's my number 2, so it's pretty high up there.
Yeah.
Before I say my number 1, I just want to say I'm jealous of people who can just like sit down, open up HBO Max and be like, yeah, I'll watch this.
Sure.
Because I feel like whenever I watch a movie, I go to my watch list and it's so curated and like it's so intentional when I watch a movie, which is nothing wrong with that. But man, like sometimes I wish sometimes I should just open up HBO Max sometime and be like, I'm gonna watch this and just pick a movie.
I mean, if you look at like the movies I've watched, well, pretty much over the course of my life, but definitely recently, it's like I'll open up an app and there will be like 50 things I should absolutely be watching.
Yeah.
Things that I want to watch. And I'm just like, nah, I'll watch The Accountant too. It's gonna suck. It's not gonna be good. But man, for some reason, I just want to watch that over something that I know I'm probably gonna like. And I don't know what it is in me that does that.
Yeah.
But I can't help it.
Maybe it's the whole like, I don't want to be disappointed. Maybe you don't want to be invested or disappointed. So you're like, if I put on Accountant 2, I don't have to be invested in it. I can sort of half pay attention.
Yeah. I don't know what it is.
Good question.
But yeah, I'm jealous too of people that are just casually ignorant and they're just like, oh, I love The Rock, and so I'm going to watch this piece of garbage because The Rock's in it. And then they get done with it, and even though it was garbage, they're like, yep, that did the job, and they move on.
Yeah, exactly.
With their life.
That worked for me. Yeah.
Right. They move on with their life. They don't even second guess whether it was good or bad.
Right. They're not going to be like, well, I'm going to have a review for that and give a star rating. Oh, if I discussed this on Top 10 last time, what am I going to say about this Rock movie? And
sure.
It's stressful, James.
I know some people experience media and they just don't even consider whether it's good or bad. They just walk away from it and they don't think about it again.
What do they say? What does Joey Pants say? Ignorance is bliss.
Yeah. I mean, there are times where
put me back in the Matrix sometimes.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. What's your number one?
It's really hard being us, James. That's I think we're trying to say.
It really is. I mean,
it really is. Yeah. Yeah. The effort we go through for you, the listener.
Feel bad for us. I mean, before this podcast, I was like that. You know, I didn't obsess about this at all before the podcast. So, the podcast has done this to me.
Before the podcast, I was deep in list territory.
I know. I'm joking.
Of like,
I was obsessed.
Oh, okay.
I was obsessed well before the podcast.
Like, well, wow, I'm really surprised you did the podcast as a casual watcher.
No.
Yep. We're just built differently.
Yeah.
All right. My number one is probably your number one, Creed.
That's my number one.
All right. You go first this time. I went first on the last two. Please.
This is an awful episode for me to not have the soundboard for sure.
That's a bingo. There.
I mean, what is there to say about Creed? Spinoff of the Rocky series, deeply integrated because Creed's probably one of the better villains in the Rocky series. Certainly,
who becomes a friend also, villain first, and then
there's a whole arc in the Rocky series with Creed, and so to be able to spin that off, make it the son of Creed, integrate Rocky into the original film, and I think he might have been in 2 as well, but eventually phasing him out in an appropriate way.
Yeah.
I thought worked really well. Having Rocky in the first movie connected it, but didn't feel like they were leaning on the connections. Like the connections are there, they make sense, it helps motivate the story, but it's not the entirety of the story. On top of that, Michael B. Jordan, just not somebody who I would have thought at the time to be somebody who could pull off a boxer.
Yeah.
But he totally does. I totally believe that guy was, top of his weight class type of thing, very highly motivated. Played off of Sylvester Stallone at the time very well. Ryan Coogler, clearly great filmmaker who has a perspective, doesn't like jam that perspective down your throat with like a specific style or anything. He just tells good stories with interesting characters. And you can put a different wrapper around it one way or the other, like a superhero movie or a boxing movie. Ryan Coogler's still going to make his version of it. It's going to be good.
Or a vampire movie.
And this one fits that formula. Anything I missed?
I think what really stood out to me in this movie, beyond those things you mentioned, is the director Ryan Coogler and just how he films boxing scenes, especially I think the second boxing scene. I mean, we've seen many boxing scenes in the history of cinema, and there's been like highlights of like Raging Bull and then how they keep pushing forward. I felt like this movie pushed forward. How do we film a boxing scene? Where it's exciting and it's in your face, but it doesn't feel rote like other movies that have, just copy Raging Bull or something like that.
Sure. I hope that someday they make a Creed 4 and they put Ryan Coogler back in the director's seat and we just kind of get like one final send off for the Creed character. I think that'd be cool.
Because he did not direct 2 or 3. Like Michael B. Jordan directed 3.
Right. And
who directed 2?
Stephen Capel Jr.
I'm not sure that is.
Yeah, I don't know either. I read it off Wikipedia.
Okay, all right.
It's not like I pulled that out of nowhere.
But my understanding is also Stallone had a heavy hand in the script for 2.
Okay. Well,
Like I think
but
one
not
he was
one.
I think one he was more attached to as an actor.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe Coogler was better at being like, this is the movie I want to make.
Right.
And then it made a ton of money. And Stallone was like, all right, number 2, this is my boat. And possibly Coogler's like, all right, I'm walking. I'm not sure the whole story, but my understanding is Stallone took over a lot more creative control for the second movie.
He definitely has a screenplay credit on 2.
Yep.
And he only has a based on characters by Sylvester Stallone on the original Creed.
On
So
one, that yep.
By the credits,
That makes sense.
Your story makes sense for sure.
Yep.
And maybe that was the difference, is like Ryan Coogler, who co-wrote the screenplay, the original screenplay for the first Creed, knew how to use his character in the context of this not Rocky story.
Right.
Whereas maybe he tried to cram a little too much Rocky in Creed 2. I don't really remember Creed 2 all that much. I remember more of 3 and 1, to be honest.
Yeah, 2
felt
doesn't
depressing.
it didn't start out. Doesn't Rocky have a whole like cancer story in 2 where you think he's dying and then he's back? And
I think so.
I was like, oh, okay, we're just gonna not kill him off.
Right. Yeah,
Like-
we're gonna go all the way to the edge and then not pull the trigger.
Yeah, and that feels like a Stallone thing of like, oh man, what if Rocky gets cancer and he has to beat his own fight?
Right. Yeah, I mean that kind of reminds me of the movie we talked about last week, Mission Impossible. Final Reckoning.
Rocky.
Another movie that just can't pull the trigger on things that need to have the trigger pulled on him.
You know, you should watch Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning next year. It'll be like, you know what? I was looking. You're going to do a Furiosa on this movie also.
I highly doubt. I might reverse a little bit, but nowhere near how much I feel like I reversed on
Furiosa.
Yeah.
No, I mean, we both agree Furiosa is a pretty good movie, if not a great movie.
Furiosa kind of depresses me because it's like, I feel like the Mad Max movies in general, but specifically the recent 2, relatively recent 2, they're George Miller movies, and nobody else can make those movies but George Miller, I think.
Yeah.
And the dude's old. Like, that's probably it for Mad Max. George Miller's version of Mad Max.
It's. I mean, this is back to the Kubrick paradox we were talking about before. Like, only some directors can only make their movies, and other people can't. They can try,
right? But
they can't pull it off. And like, I don't know if I want another Mad Max that's in the world of this Mad Max that's not Miller, because he is this evil genius. I don't know, the creative genius. We'll put it that way.
Sure.
Of what he puts on screen and like how he envisions all these set pieces.
Yeah, and like the world building is so specific, but also unique that I think certainly other people could take it over. But yeah, all the pieces, I can't imagine anybody else doing it.
Yeah, agree.
So. All right. That was our list of our top 10 movie spinoffs. I had a couple honorable mentions that aren't a big deal, but Ocean's 8, I thought was a fun spinoff of the Ocean's movie.
Also on my honorable mentions. Yep.
Not as good, clearly, as some of the other entries, but fun. I had Glass, which we talked about a little bit. It wasn't on your list, but I thought Glass was an interesting new version of Unbreakable that wasn't a direct sequel. U.S. Marshals. Do you remember that movie?
I do. I didn't know if that was because it's the same characters. Like Tommy Lee Jones is playing
the guy from Fugitive,
and he's got the same team. They just have Wesley Snipes now. I didn't know if that was a spinoff or a sequel, so I left that one off.
Oh, I think it's a spinoff because The Fugitive is a Harrison Ford movie.
True.
that Tommy Lee Jones happens to be in. You know what I mean? Like they could have gotten somebody else for Tommy Lee Jones. It's not about that character. It's about Harrison Ford's character. So to me, that's why it was a spinoff. If the original one was like Tommy Lee Jones, The Fugitive, and then they made U.S. Marshals, then I would say, okay, it's
okay,
a sequel,
fair.
But, okay. And then finally, X-Men Origins, Wolverine.
Oh, yeah.
Not a good spinoff, but that's it's been a while since I've seen it, but the 2 times I've seen it, the first one I was like, what is this?
It's an interesting movie. Yeah.
The second time I watched it, I was like, this is fun. Not in a this is a good movie way, in a this is about as bad as comic book movies got at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And for that reason, like it's not a slog bad, it's just a why or were these decisions made bad? And that's fun to watch in my opinion. So that's why I made the list. What were you going to say?
Let's sew Deadpool's mouth shut. That seems like a smart idea.
Right. Yeah, it was just a bunch of stupid things.
Yeah.
Or like amnesia bullets. Like in that movie, there's
Yeah.
bullets, and like when you get shot, you lose your memory. It's like, okay, that doesn't make any
weird.
sense. Yeah. Anyway.
Have I told you my U.S. Marshals story?
No. Were you pursued by the U.S. Marshals?
No. This is about the movie itself.
Mm-hmm.
I saw U.S. Marshals before The Fugitive.
Oh, interesting.
And I did not know they were related because the U.S. Marshals came out in like 96. I was like 13. So I was prime age to see that.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew about The Fugitive, but I had never seen it up to that point.
Sure.
Because I was like 8, I don't know, I was 10 when it came out or 7 or something like that. I was younger. So anyway, I saw U.S. Marshals, liked it because it was like Tommy Lee Jones and it was, Chase and Wesley Snipes was in it. And then a couple years later, I finally saw The Fugitive. And I was like, man, this movie's really similar to U.S. Marshals. And like, this was pre-internet. Or I mean, there was the internet, but this is like pre everything being out there.
Sure.
And I think I kind of figured out, like, I think Tommy Lee Jones is playing the same character. And I think I kind of eventually put it together like, oh, these seem to be related to each other.
Mm-hmm.
But they all have very similar beats with like how they escape. They're very similar movies. Like U.S. Marshals is a worse version of The Fugitive.
Mm-hmm.
I just got to it first. So I need to rewatch The Fugitive because I think the whole time I was like, yeah, I mean, U.S. Marshals did this already.
I want to rewatch both of them.
Okay.
I haven't seen The Fugitive. I saw it once, probably on release. I don't remember if I saw it in a theater, but there's a 4K out for it. I'm kind of waiting till I can get my hands on a cheap 4K of The Fugitive, and then I'll rewatch that one in. There's no 4K for U.S. Marshals.
Is there even a Blu-ray for U.S. Marshals or a DVD only?
There's probably a Blu-ray. I mean,
maybe
it did all right. $102 million.
Yeah, it was a popular movie,
which for late 90s is pretty good.
Yeah.
Wait, you saw U.S. Marshals when it came out?
Like 96, right?
98.
Yeah. That mean 98.
You weren't
98.
You were
I was 15.
15.
No, I was 15 when that. No, I was saying when Fugitive came out, I was like 9 years old.
Okay.
So that one I didn't. I was too young for Fugitive.
Right.
I was aware of it because that's like 92, 91.
I don't remember when Fugitive was, but sounds about right. Although that would have been a long gap between Fugitive and U.S. Marshals.
Well, let's look at that.
There was there was an 8-year gap between those two. It seems like, I don't know.
What's a spinoff?
I know, but that's a long time between a spinoff and an original.
93 for The Fugitive.
Okay.
So yeah, so I was 10.
Between them.
I wasn't quite, I wasn't quite ready to see like neo-noir crime chase movies about murder and.
Sure.
I don't even know if the Fugitive's rated R or not.
There's definitely no 4K, but there is a Blu-ray of U.S. Marshals.
Okay.
That is roughly $12 new, a few bucks less used.
Sure.
So it's from a Blu-ray perspective, kind of valuable.
Yeah.
Hasn't completely lost its value from a Blu-ray perspective. Probably because they probably didn't print a lot of them.
Yeah, because no one's clamoring for U.S. Marshals on Blu-ray.
All right. All right. That was fun. Thank you for joining us for this episode 684 of the Cinereelists. We appreciate your listenership. Don't forget to check us out on YouTube, support us on Patreon, leave us an Apple Podcast review, or send us an email. Links in the description of this episode to do any and all of those things. You could also follow us on social media at Cinereelists on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok. You can follow me on my personal Blue Sky or Letterboxd account at YoJRB.
You can find me on Letterboxd at PeterSKB.
We will be back next week with something. We don't know what yet. We have some ideas. We just haven't officially chosen something yet. So no homework. I'd hate to tell you the wrong thing and people watch something they don't even want to watch.
I would say between now and next week, watch every streaming movie you can. And you may watch the one we would choose some.
Sure. That's one approach.
Yep.
Right.
Just binge.
Pretty much
movies.
the opposite of what I was trying to communicate, but sure.
And Zach should be back next week also.
Yes.
Yes.
That's the goal. So regardless, we will see you there. Until then, keep it cinereal.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.